So, Phil, you've been chatting away with Harry Chappell. He's been telling you about one of his favourite TV shows, Doctor Who. Now, how are you going to move that into your topic?
Okay. How am I going to do podcasting? Simple. There is not enough Doctor Who content, so we have to create another podcast to supplement the great Doctor Who. And with the new Doctor Who, you know there's going to be thousands of people wanting more content. That's how I would do it.
Is that also a clue that you're going to start a new Doctor Who podcast?
I am not revealing my hand as of yet. Stay tuned. Maybe there'll be a better Doctor Who podcast coming. Who knows? Who really knows?
Well, we'll wait to find out. Anyway, let's start this show.
Well, he's got a new guest, time to put him to the test. So hey, what's the topic? We don't know, cause he never does research for this show. His name is Jason, he wants to talk to you about a topic you love or something you do. No two topics are ever the same. That might sound impressive, but they're all pretty lame. A conversation with
And intro music. That is not my intro music.
It is now.
Yeah, I might put that in. Okay. Hello, you're listening to A Conversation With, the podcast where each week I'm joined by a different guest and we have a conversation on a topic of their choice. And he's back once again. We'll be speaking to Phil Better from The Phil Better Show. And that's right, you heard correctly. We're talking about podcasting again. So this is Podcasting Part 2. Welcome back, Phil.
Yeah, it's glad to be back. It's nice, beautiful weather right now we're having, so it's perfect weather for podcasting.
Well, I think I have a feeling like last time that we spoke, it actually was really nice weather.
It was a beautiful sunny day, and now it's a very cold and miserable October day here in Canada.
I was motivated enough to go out early to the gym this morning, and my car was coated in ice. You're looking for any excuse not to go, and you're like, oh, maybe it's too early, maybe it's too dark. Oh, maybe I need to stand and scrape the ice off the windscreen before I can actually. That was my warm up for the workout.
Yeah, it's a good workout. Like I remember when I had a car. You guys don't know what winter's like. You get a bit of snow and the whole world stops for you guys. We have ice storms. Legit ice storms. Ice is falling from the sky, freezing everything, killing power. That's what winter is like here in Canada.
Well, I definitely agree that in England they don't know what winter is, and everything does stop. So I, living abroad, experienced worse winters there than we ever had here. But also things just went on. We're like, oh, there's lots of snow. What are we going to do? Well, we'll stick on snow tires. We'll clear the roads, and you'll go to work. We're like, oh, okay. In England, it's like, oh, there's a bit of sleet. We better close everything. Shut it down. Oh, yeah. It's not safe.
Yeah, it's weird. Like here in Canada, we have in my province specifically, we have a law that you have to have winter tires on, not all season, winter tires by, I think it's like November 16th or 17th. By then, you have to have your winter tires on just in case we get one of those massive snowstorms.
Yeah, in Italy, there was a similar law. You had to have the winter tires or the chains in your car.
Okay.
But you also had to be able to demonstrate that you could put the chains on. So you couldn't just have them in the car. They could actually say, oh, you need to put them on now so that we can trust that you can actually do it.
Yeah, we don't allow chains because our roads are already bad as it is. So if we had chains on it, we wouldn't have roads. Have dirt roads would be where we'd be driving.
So clearly none of this has anything to do with podcasting.
But it does because it's content. Podcasting can be about anything, like we said last time, about snow tires, about whether or not you should have chain or dirt roads, and So that's what's great about podcasting. Everything is about podcasting.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. So I don't know if
Generally,
you're right,
I'm always
but you're
right,
not wrong.
so I like that idea.
So this is, I mean, I want to put it out there that you are not the person who is, well, you see, I'm about to say this, and I already know it's sort of not true, but in this very particular context, it's not true. I was going to say, you are not this podcast-obsessed person that felt the need to come back on and tell me more about podcasting. I invited you back.
Yes, I got a very early message, well, early for me, probably late afternoon for you, saying, hey, are you free this afternoon?
That wasn't my question, actually, Phil. My question was, are you podcasting this afternoon?
Yes, I was trying to save you, but it was really, are you podcasting this afternoon? I'm like, yes. Why? He's like, I need you to come on my show, and we can talk about podcasting. I'm like, okay, well, it has to be between these hours, because I'm podcasting right after. So yes, in this case, you are the podcast-obsessed person asking me to help you out.
Well, as I said on my show last time, that you were on. By the way, I was going to mention this earlier, and I forgot that episode, as famously referenced by Andy Matthews.
That's true.
Who did say if he could travel back to any moment in time, it would be the recording of that podcast. We have that on record. So
yeah, so look, Andy, buddy, pal, putting it out there. You're welcome to come on to the Phil Better Show. We'll bring Jason on. We'll do a 3 conversation about movies and that. You're more than welcome. Or heck, if you want, we'll do a conversation on Jason's podcast or even on your podcast. I don't mind. I love podcasting.
Oh, we're going to break into the tank. We're
going to break into the tank. If you don't bring us in, we're coming in.
So, So basically, I said on that last episode that I have my sort of self-imposed deadlines.
Yes.
And one of them is on Wednesday, and I'm working all day tomorrow. So this is sort of like, I haven't got anything recorded. I've got nothing saved up. Do you know, I mean, I remember as well when we recorded that episode, Phil, at the end, I told you, yeah, this will be up in about 3 weeks' time, because that's like how many I've already got stored up, ready to go. And Sunday, I recorded the episode of Getting to Know Who for Monday. And today I'm recording this one for Wednesday. So it's Monday night, by the way, for reference, everybody. So that's what's changed for me, really, over the last couple of months since our last conversation. I've really dug myself a bit of a hole that I can't store up podcasts anymore. But I know things have changed for you as well. When this is going out, you told me that we'll be hitting a milestone for you in the podcasting world. Yeah,
when this episode drops, it'll be my 1 year anniversary of podcasting. I'm very excited. I did not think I would be in the podcast game for a year, but February I got revitalized, and in March I jumped back into the game even harder, and since then it's been going better and better. I think the biggest change was when I jumped onto your podcast. That's when the whole world changed for me.
Well, we have that effect on people. It's been famously noted by no one, but it's. But hey, if you're listening, you're thinking, well, maybe it's true. Come on, why not? Well, I mean, to a degree, it happened that the CrossFit episode with Arm & Hammer. So he came on the podcast, and then like the next week, he was having dinner in the house of the CEO of CrossFit. So
hey, there you go. Look at that.
I don't think it has anything to do with my podcast. If anything,
I think it does.
I think it does, because
podcasting, putting people together, man.
That must be it.
Has to be it.
So apart from the Phil Better Show, that seems to be going strong, almost hitting a year now of that show. I've heard whispers and rumors, Phil, that that one pod is never enough.
It isn't. It's never enough. So you're alluding to the happily named new podcast I will be starting January called Better Netflix Review, where I have a guest on and we discuss Netflix original shows, and we review it and say what we would change, what we would want. And I believe I have you penciled in for an episode.
Yeah. an episode or two. I've got a couple of shows I want to talk about. I've deliberately picked shows that I was sure no one else would choose. It will be interesting to hear my hot takes on a show that nobody's seen. So,
hey, it's all better that way. And it could be a show that they love, they hate, they don't really care about. That's what makes this great, because then you get the difference of opinions, you're getting people arguing, talking about it. That's what podcasting is about. It's about doing a conversation or having a conversation with.
Yeah.
Can't speak anymore.
Well, that's probably the only requirement for podcasting, Phil, is the ability to speak. So I am concerned. I, like you, have decided that one podcast is not enough. One child apparently is not enough. So I felt the need to just...
Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you very much.
Having another child, that's a huge monumental. I don't have any children, but I am now an uncle, so...
Yeah, and
I kind of understand what you're going through, in a way.
Well, kind of, yeah. Yeah, you're like, I've got a cat. I mean, that's similar, right? Well,
cats
to a degree.
Cats are the same.
Yeah. So I've decided to just make my life more difficult by also increasing the number of podcasts I'm doing. And it's quite difficult because you, like this show, this was the first one. So you feel a little bit like, well, this was the first show that I made. I don't want to say I prefer getting to know who. It's a very different style of show.
Yeah.
But I like doing it. And when I listen to the episodes, I'm like, it was, hearing kind of the banter between the two guests and some of the decisions they make or the reasonings behind their decisions. It's good fun. It's very entertaining. If you're not listening to it, get on over there.
I have to say, I look for my Mondays are pretty much the Weekly Planet. Whenever Ignorance Is This decides to drop an episode, their show, and Getting to Know Who. Those are my Mondays when I'm at work. Those are the 3 podcasts I usually I get through in my shift.
Oh, so it must have been a good Monday for you today, because I know that Ignorance Is This put out a new episode finally.
Yes, it was a great episode. 3-month hiatus. But it was a lot of, like, today was a great one. I loved the episode. It was nice that you had John on from Beg to Differ. It was nice to hear him on a different podcast.
Yeah, I heard a lot of back and forth on the Twitter sphere afterwards about John finally guesting on a podcast, and he never goes on anyone else's podcast, and people have tried to get him on. He's a really good guest. I thought he was thought he handled himself very well. So he should be on more podcasts. That's what I say.
He should. And look at you getting an exclusive. You get the first crack of a brand new type of guest. That's huge in the podcasting world, because nearly everybody's been on a podcast.
Yeah, I've had a couple of. I had your buddy Chris Scarfo on.
His brother.
And his brother. It was his first podcast.
Yeah.
So
you had my girlfriend. My girlfriend was the first time on another podcast.
Yeah, she's been on yours, but that doesn't really count.
Doesn't really count. It's my podcast.
She didn't know you were
she
recording.
has to be on it.
You just turn the mic on while you're having a chat in your room. And
yeah, that's it.
Then later,
she doesn't know she's recorded about 90% of the time. She doesn't listen to this one. It's fine.
Is it fine? Hold on a second. She doesn't listen to this one and it's fine? No, stop.
She doesn't even listen to mine, so...
Well, that's fine.
I think she downloads it and she's like, yeah, I listened to it. It was a great episode. Yeah. So what was it about?
Movies.
And she's like, movies. I don't know. Come on. Really? Then she kisses me and then it's like, okay.
Well, where do we go from here, Phil? That's the question. So, foolishly...
What?
Oh, you have a question. Go for it.
Well, I was going to ask you a question, but since I'm the guest, I cannot really ask questions until later, right? It's like a little later that I ask the question. Well, it's been a while. I've been on a show, and you've changed formats.
Yeah, I have changed the format. What do you think of the newer format, by the way?
I think it's a lot of fun. I really love the questions without context. As I'm an avid participant in giving the questions without context. And your guests seem to enjoy it, even though they're confused.
Yeah, they seem to enjoy it. That's the key.
Hey, as long as it seems it's better than they're not. Yeah. But yeah, I do enjoy the new format that you have. It makes it a fun twist from other type of podcasts that just have a conversation. and it's just a back and forth, and there's no fun. You get a lot of interaction with your fans, and I really like that engagement from the fans that you get. I really like the new format.
Okay.
The old format was fine. I'm really enjoying the new format, and to see it evolve again in the future.
Well, it's going to slightly evolve now because, normally we wait till the end, and then I'm like, okay, your turn to ask me questions. But we've done that. we did that last episode, guys. If you didn't hear, go back to whenever that was. It's the old format. It was with Phil. It's labeled somewhere. You can find it there. Today, we will do the questions without context at the end, but feel free to ask questions whenever you want. You're
Okay.
a returning guest. You get that special privilege. Just don't tell Harry because I didn't tell him that.
I won't. Don't worry. So I'm celebrating my 1 year podcasting in the 1st of November, the 31st of October. When are you celebrating your 1 year with the conversation with?
Oh, it's probably information that I should know, isn't it?
Generally, yeah.
All right. Well, let's pull it up, find out. Because I always think it's like, surely I've only been doing it about 2 months, but this is gonna be episode 23. Episode 1 came out on the 4th of June.
Yeah, that's a Monday.
Yeah. Well, this was you know what it was, so it's probably slightly older than you, because I think the very first episode went up on maybe on SoundCloud.
Okay.
And then I very quickly moved across to Podbean. So I think I might have had 3 episodes up by then. But one was a bonus episode. So yeah, I'm going to say start of June, basically. That'll probably be when it was. I could probably get a more official date, but I'm going to say the 1st of June.
That's fine. For now it's the 1st of June, and so you're 23 episodes in. When we had our conversation the first time, you were about 5 to 6 episodes in, I think?
I want to say you were episode 7, but again, I'm going to have to look that up. Oh, you were episode 8. Sorry, Rory.
I was episode 8.
Rory was episode 7. Oops.
It's fine. So, yeah. So, I'm episode 23. So, that's mathematically, there's a couple episodes in between.
1 or 2.
What have you learned since that episode 8?
Oh, okay. I have learned something. That is, I got to a point where I just started asking people to come on the show, expecting them to say no. Just kind of like, I'll ask. They'll never say yes, but I'll ask. And the majority said yes. And so it kind of more, what I learned is just ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, and the worst that can happen is that they say no, and as happened a number of times, they said yes, and so it kind of worked out well. A little bit of how to change the format, I think, was also from what I'd learned, that perhaps trying to have a degree of consistency, even if the topic of the show would change each week. So it might be like, well, I'm not hugely interested in this topic, but I'll skip to the end and listen to the questions without context, because that's always quite good fun, that kind of thing. So it's sort of, even if it's a topic you're not interested in, you might find something within that you can enjoy anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Dear listener, tell me. We'll close it all down.
Tweet us and let us know.
Yeah, that's it really. Because then as well, I started the second show in this time as well, which was probably foolish, but again, I learned different things from that. So I'm always learning, Phil. I'm always learning.
Well, that's the biggest thing, because you're running 2 shows. You're looking at starting a 3rd one. I don't know if that's knowledge or I'm going to have to bleep this out.
Well, if you go to jasoncroxon.co.uk, you can see that it's already... a little plug there. It's already actually up on the site, and I reposted A Conversation with episodes into the new feed.
Okay.
Because that's something else that I learned, is get validated with iTunes and everything way before you plan to drop your show. So put something on the feed so that you can at least get it accepted on all the different web portals, and then podcast readers and apps and whatever, wherever you want to have it.
I believe the correct term is podcatchers.
Yeah, although the podcatchers, see, I always think that they are like the one you'd have on your phone that pulls from iTunes, for example.
Yeah.
So that's always difficult just to know where the majority pull from iTunes. So I think if you can make sure you're on iTunes for that, and then Spotify and
yes,
all of. I'm on most of those things. I think. I don't know
I think if you're on iTunes, Spotify, and at least Google or a big Android app one, like Stitcher is pretty big as well. But Google now has their preferred Google podcasting. If you get onto that, you cover at least 90% of the listeners, and then the podcatchers pull off of iTunes, so you get the next couple there.
Yeah, I think it's just, you've got to you're constantly plugging holes. You find a little gap. Oh, I'm not on here. Put it on, and yeah, depending on where they pull from, or sometimes you just have to request or send them your feed, and they'll put it on because they're just a smaller one, but they've got maybe a good interface, so people are using the app just because they like the way it works, but perhaps the selection is smaller, or they need to manually insert the RSS feed. So it's a lot of technical stuff going on behind the scenes, but that's the boring part, Phil. That's
that's not the fun part. That's the full-time job part. Like I prefer the conversation, talking with the guest, talking about the topic. That's the best part for me about podcasting. The part that I despise the most is the back end part, the editing the podcast, because an hour podcast can take up to 2 hours of editing, especially if you're doing a themed type podcast where you have to enter movie quotes and all that. So you have to make sure you pick the right part of the movie quote. You have to get that done, insert your intro music, your outro. If you have to put in sound bites, all that. That's like an hour show can take like 2 to 3 hours to edit. And so like by the end of it, you're like, I'm done. But then you have to do your social media game, which by the way, for both your Instagram feeds, they're on fire. Have to say, you do great Instagram.
Now you say that, but they've slowed down a lot recently, and a lot of that is due to me doing like a 6-week challenge at the gym.
Yeah,
that was basically diet, exercise, and sleep. These were so it's like nutrition, exercise, and sleep. And one of the things was, pick a time that then your phone is off, not necessarily off, but away from that time, so you don't look at it anymore. And that's made it difficult to keep up to date with the social media, because it's like, well, I can either record the podcast or I can tweet about the podcast, but I can't do both. I just don't have time. So
I'm in the same boat, because like for at least a good 8 hours of my day, I'm at work. I can't be on my phone, and I can't access some of the social medias at work. They blocked it. So mine is when I leave work until I go to bed, I'm doing social media. And what really sucks is, unfortunately, Instagram doesn't allow you to schedule tweets or schedule posts. You have to get an outside app that holds the stuff, and then you copy that, put it in, and that's a lot of work. But then you also have to come up with a copy for the post, the hashtagging, and getting all that proper, and make sure you fall into the guidelines of Instagram, and so that you can hopefully get one that goes viral and you get millions of downloads, and then you become famous like Joe Rogan or something. But hasn't happened for me yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's only been a year. Give it a year and 2 days, and who knows what will happen.
Who knows? Maybe my episode this Thursday that you can check out at philbettershow@gmail.com. I'll send you the link personally.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are they checking it out for your email?
I don't know. I was like, that's not it. But I swung it. That's what you have to do. You have to be able to maneuver in podcasting. But yeah, it's the Phil Better Show. It's on all major podcasting apps, and it's at Phil Better Show on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook. You gotta promo your stuff all times.
Yeah, I will even be kind enough to put some links in the show notes.
Oh,
so
kind. So kind.
I try my best with the show notes, because I actually had somebody, because you were on an episode of Getting to Know Who, And when given the opportunity to plug something, you chose to plug Air Canada.
Well, you also cut me off before I could plug my own show, so...
Well,
and also my girlfriend didn't know what plug meant at the time. So I was just shooting out things like willy-nilly, and then Air Canada.
She plugged rum and coke, I think. That was her option.
Yep, yeah, she finalized with rum and coke.
Yeah, but I just sort of offhandedly said, well, I'll put Air Canada in the show notes. You can find the links down below. And somebody sent me a message saying, I checked, you'd done it. You'd put Air Canada in the notes. I was like, well, I said I would. And the episode that went up today, I think I say in the episode, because there was a question about where Mal Reynolds was ranked on the top 25 sci-fi legends in 2004. And
oh God!
And Harry wanted to know who was ranked like 16th and 17th, because I think he was 18th. So it was like this, he wanted to know who were the two above him. So this morning I was Googling that to find that information to put in the show notes. But I found that show, as much as I love doing it, it's so much work. As you said, like this one, it's pretty easy. I send you a message, Phil, get on, we're going to have a chat about podcasting. That's my prep done. The other one, I have to write questions. And I have to write a little bit of a story. And I have to write a little intro and make sure I change it up each week. And and it seems like nothing. I was thinking, well, I've got most of the answers there. It takes forever. I can't believe how long it takes to do.
Oh, yeah. I honestly thought, because you brought this to the group, and I thought, okay, he's going to get a bunch of questionnaires. He's going to take about a month, write all the questions, and then he's just going to record back to back to back to back and everything. And then as the new questionnaires get filled, he's going to fill out new questionnaires. No, within like 3 days after announcing it, you're like, okay, I need guests. And I'm like, either he got a lot of questionnaires really quickly, or he's insane.
Which one do you think it is, Phil?
You're insane.
I'm insane, okay. Yeah. And
you're a CrossFitter. You have to be insane.
So, you've mentioned it now. So, I suppose it would be really crazy to start a third podcast.
Well, luckily your third podcast, from what you've described, it's similar to what we're doing now, a conversation with, but it's strictly on CrossFit and health, in essence.
Yeah, so it's really, to be honest with you, the podcast I wanted to make about 2 years ago. I think we didn't speak about that, but we spoke on the previous episode that kind of I said, I'd had ideas and I was always having ideas. And I actually made like a kind of pilot episode of that one.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, this I think would be a good topic, a good thing to talk about. But it involves me speaking to people that I then have to see again, and see on like, not want to say a regular basis, but it's not as kind of with this. Most of the people that know me don't even know I do this, so it's quite easy to just sort of fly under the radar, and people on the internet can think what they like, but I don't have to look them in the eye later. I didn't want that every time I went to the gym, they're like talking about me and going, oh yeah, do you hear his thing? Oh, what's he talking about? But then doing this show and the other one, and it sort of gave me the confidence boost I needed to just sound out this idea. So I just left a message at the like on a group thing at the gym, just saying, would anybody be interested in doing this pod? Because I'd already dropped the CrossFit episode of this podcast there, so people could listen to it. So I was like, well, would anybody be interested if I was doing another podcast that was just, about CrossFit? And a lot of people came back saying, yeah, I'd like to do it. So I was like, oh, okay. So, that's good. And my initial plan, Phil, a bit like you just said on the other one, was this time I'm going to take it slow. I'm not going to run. I'm going to get it all set up. It's going to be perfect. Probably won't do anything until in the new year sometime. That's the way to do it. I mean, that was the plan.
He's now, for people listening, he's staring right at the camera into my eyes and going, that was the plan. There's insanity just crawling across his eyes. I'm just saying that. The insanity is crawling across his eyes.
So I was just kind of constantly just checking back with the gym, just saying, hey, guys, I've made a logo, or we're on iTunes now, so that's great. So hopefully soon things will start moving. And I was still planning to kind of take it slow. And then a couple of things happened that have made me be like, oh man, I need to get this up as soon as possible. One was that I was listening to quite a popular CrossFit podcast, and they had just been featured on the Instagram of CrossFit. And so they were joking about their Instagram, how they never kind of really post much and they don't feature people and they should do the thing. And one of the guys sort of said to the one who's leading it, like, if somebody just told me that you had told me to post this thing, I would just do it. I'd assume that it was correct and just post it. So these are actually the guys that I've had on this show. So I put their episodes back up on the other feed, and I sent him a message with a picture saying, hey, he told me that you're supposed to put this up on your Instagram because your episodes are on here now. And they did. And so he said, we're a podcast of our words, so we have to... And then I started getting like messages from there of people sort of saying, where can we find it then? Is it just on his website, or can we get it on iTunes or this or that sort of thing? So I was like, well, that's good. And then I just asked the owner of the gym that I go to if it was all right to record at the gym. So, they've got like a room upstairs that's kind of quiet, so I can go up there and record. And he's like, yeah, I've just been waiting for you to ask me if I want to come on. I was like, I put a message in the group. If anybody, I thought it was just for the members. It's like, well, no, it's for everyone. And then he was like, well, if you want that we speak about this, so basically there's all these changes that have happened in the CrossFit world on how the kind of the sport, the sport as opposed to the fitness side of things is done. And he's going to be quite involved from within the UK in how it works on actually sending people to the main CrossFit Games. And he's like, so if you want that we speak about that and you get all the kind of information first on your podcast, we can do that. I'm like, now I need to get this out super quick before you start telling everyone else's information. So
there you go.
So
things happen so quickly, man.
I think recording is starting next week.
So you know what you should do?
Retire?
So, yeah, retire first of all. Since you got you're juggling 2 podcasts. Plus you got your baby on the way. You got your son, and you have your day job. You got so much handling. Maybe you can make not a conversation with, getting to know who, a seasonal podcast. I mean, instead of it going to a bi-weekly, you make it in seasons. So how many episodes do you have of Getting to Know Who?
I think 9.
You have 9? So in Britain, your series are usually
6.
6 episodes long. So you're 3 over.
Yeah.
You can do a Netflix style and do 10 to 13 episodes. Okay. You take a break. You can get all your questions done through the questionnaires that you have left, and then you can record a whole another 13, drop them weekly or bi-weekly if you want to continue that way. That gives you space between your 2 other podcasts, this one and the CrossFit Jesus.
Is that what we're calling it now?
I don't know. I unfortunately just forgot the name of your podcast, and I'm like, it's about CrossFit.
Yeah.
Why not call it CrossFit Jesus?
Well, no, it's called because you can't really use the term CrossFit in your title because it's a trademarked term. So if you kind of get in trouble if you call yourself like the CrossFit podcast, they can come after you. We're like, no, we are CrossFit. We own that. You can't use, like, all the gyms that are CrossFit gyms officially have to pay. They're affiliates, so they have to pay a fee to have that name. So my podcast is called All Across Fitness. Now, it might be that in the logo, the cross and the fit are a different color from the rest of the letters.
That's fine. You're just playing with colors. That's allowed. That's fully allowed.
They are 2 different words. It's Across Fitness.
There you go.
And I mean, if I say it fast when I say it and it's All Across Fitness, that's that's neither here nor there. But they can't take me to court over colours, surely.
No.
But that'll be nice. That will be the idea behind that one is the fact that if you Google CrossFit, you just have all these monsters appear in Google Images, and it can be quite intimidating. And there's sort of misinformation about how everybody hurts themselves and kills themselves doing this thing. And if you actually go to the gym, you'll see we've got people that are in their 60s, in their 70s, young ones that are starting it, people that were overweight and kind of couldn't get off the sofa, and now they're coming in and just being fit and healthy and exercising. And it's really about that. It's just about speaking to everyday normal people. As well, there are some who are kind of at the top end, and they're athletes and competing quite often and things. So there'll be a good mix, but it's just just that little bit of encouragement for people.
I think it's a great idea. I don't listen to CrossFit, and I sometimes think people who do CrossFit are sometimes insane.
Well, maybe. I mean, sometimes they have multiple podcasts, so clearly
they have multiple podcasts. Get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym for 6, and decide to throw a tire around for no other reason than throwing a tire around.
This is the funny thing, is that I am, as much as I love doing CrossFit, I also hate a lot of the true stereotypes about people that do CrossFit. So
yeah,
it's hard to strike that balance. Actually, somebody was saying that they'd gone to a hen party.
Oh God!
Because this is somebody who is supposed to be, has been assigned to the team I'm in for this challenge. So we're supposed to be encouraging each other to do it, and they were like, "Oh, I went to a hen party." Like, oh, great! That's surely...
Wait, for people who don't know what a hen party is, because you do have listeners across the world.
What do you call it in Canada? So it's
we call it a bachelorette party.
A bachelorette party, right?
Yeah, so it's just the women partying before the marriage.
Yes. So
yeah,
she
you guys also call a bachelor party a stag party, right?
Yeah, a stag do usually.
A stag do, okay.
I think in Australia they call it a buck's night, I think is the term I've heard thrown around on podcasts over there. But I work it out from context. So if anybody is listening going, what was he talking about? Work it out from context. But basically, she was sort of reporting in to the group about how it had gone, and that we shouldn't worry that our team has now lost the competition because she went there. Because the two comments were, I was, don't worry, I didn't have no alcohol, but I was definitely the most sober. And I was like, well, the most sober at a hen party doesn't sound like you're putting the bar particularly high. So,
I can say I was the most sober in the bar.
Yeah, I was the one still standing. And then she said, oh, and we met these. I think they were like Marines, something, that they were there, and somehow they took their shirts off, and then they was telling them about the workout they do, and she said, oh, that's CrossFit, I do that. And I said, well, did you work out that it was CrossFit from the exercises they were telling you they do, or the fact that they felt the need to take their shirt off? That is the other sort of... So I am well aware of the stereotypes, and I don't like them. So I think I was speaking. I think I had Harry on here, or I was on Harry's podcast. Harry from the Rank List of Everything.
Yeah, and
he'd seen some of the CrossFit stuff that I'd done. And he was like, "You don't sound like you do CrossFit."
Yeah, no, because it's like it's when you talk with. So I don't know how bad the hipster situation is in England.
Yeah, bad enough.
It's bad in North America. I hate hipsters. Anyways, moving on.
They love you.
I know they love me. But a common joke here is, if a hipster is is vegan and a CrossFitter, which do they talk about first?
It's a good question. Talk about both. How are they gonna choose? I don't know.
That's right. So yeah, CrossFitters are I look at it as someone who is like a vegetarian or a vegan. They have to talk about it, or they have to wait like at least 5 seconds, and they'll tell you they're a CrossFitter, or they'll tell you're a vegetarian. And like, I have nothing against people who do CrossFit. I have nothing against people who are vegetarians. I have friends who are vegetarians. I dated a vegan. Didn't last long. But
you kept making burgers. That was the problem, Phil.
That's what it was. Should have fixed that. But no, it's like you said. They're always talking about it, and they're always saying, "Oh yeah, CrossFit is the bomb. It's this, it's that." It's like, I don't need to be converted. I enjoy my body the way it is. And you are definitely not. I didn't even know you did CrossFit.
Yeah.
We've been talking at least since June. No, bit before that, and you had not once mentioned that you did CrossFit. And then when you said you posted about it, I'm like, wait, what? You CrossFit? This doesn't fit into my world.
Yeah. And I mean, he's always got access to a microphone.
Yeah. He has access to a microphone. He has a podcast. He has a global reach, yet he's not preaching CrossFit. Something's not right here.
Well, you see, I will be soon. Don't worry. That's the plan. Start the show. Well, you see, because that's the thing, Phil, is that this show, as much as I love doing it, one of the drawbacks to having... So I love having different topics. That's great, because I get to talk about different things, learn stuff, or share what I already know about things, or just talk passionately about something that we both like. So that's nice. The problem is that whenever I have like I did the Star Wars episode a few weeks ago, and then I'll put out that I've got a Star Wars episode, and I'll see suddenly I get all these new followers that like Star Wars. Well, guess what? There's not another Star Wars episode coming, so you're not going to be happy.
Or you.
So then, they all disappear very quickly, which is fine, because, again, I'm doing it for me. But I feel like having a specific topic and being like, well, look, every time it will be a different variation on this topic. So, and as you said, someone who does CrossFit, they just love talking about it. They love hearing about it. They love it gives you a kind of automatic audience. So you don't need to, you mentioned before, like the social media is trying to think, well, what, think for me, what hashtag should you use? I don't know. What's the topic? Who knows what we're talking about? Every time you've got to think of a new
CrossFit.
one. Yeah, well, that one, that's easy because that will be the same thing every time. So you can come up with like your 10, hashtags and you just launch those. But this time I've got to do one all about podcasting. Last time it was Doctor Who. The time before it was Star Wars. So I was kind of constantly having to write out new ones. So I can't just make one and save it and copy and paste. That's the problem.
So what I usually do, because my topics vary as well, about the movies and that, because we're talking about different movies each week, is I have my 4 to 5, usually about 4 that are set. So it's always hashtag team feel better, hashtag review, hashtag movie, hashtag I think one other one. And sometimes I'll throw in my location if I can't figure out other hashtags. And then I do 4 on the topic. Hey, look, my Montreal hashtag gets a lot of love. That's all I know. I get a lot of people from Montreal following me. That's all I know. But
the problem is that I live in Bath. So if I hashtag Bath, people are going to be like, am I looking for a bath? It's all these people that are trying to redo their bathrooms. And they'll be like, why do we care about this podcast? Phil, I've seen the time. We've got to do this. We've got to do this.
Yes, the best part of the new show.
Yeah, and this is going to be a highly edited episode, I think. I don't know what's going on. I'm tired.
I tried my best. Not to go on tangents.
I think it was me, to be honest. I'm taking responsibility for this one. I don't know what I was doing. It's just nice to have a chat, Phil. That was all.
It is.
I haven't actually spoken to you for a long time, so it's nice to hear your voice. Well, no, I hear your voice quite often, but to be able to actually reply to the things you're saying, that's what it is.
And not look like you're yelling at Jesus upstairs.
Not just telling you how wrong you are.
I think I have a DC episode coming up soon.
Oh, good. I'll take notes. Right. Okay. Well, you know what we'll do? We'll start with our good friend, Carlisle.
Ooh, I love Carlisle.
Who kindly provided the intro music for this show, the intro music for Getting to Know Who, and would you believe it, he even sent me a little sample of something that I might use for All Across Fitness as well. So
ooh, look at him.
My go-to musician. So thank you again, Carlisle. I'll shout it out as often, it's better, as I can. Anyway, he asks a very interesting question. I always wanted a dog called Watson. When we got a dog, my parents ignored my wishes and called him something else. Did I overreact by calling Childline?
No, you did not. You did not overreact, Carlisle. It's the perfect response. They were abusing you by not listening to you. They abused your rights as a child to name your dog.
Watson?
No, why are you calling Childline because of a dog's name, my man? There's so many other...
I think they were probably protecting you by not letting you call your dog Watson. As somebody who is constantly trying to come up with a potential boy's name or girl's name at the moment, I'm getting very good at rejecting names. It's a skill.
I'm just going to throw the name out there. Phil is a great boy's name.
Yeah, my uncle is called Phil, so...
And how great is your uncle? He's a great guy.
Okay,
we're going to move on to the next question. That's going to be edited out for sure.
Indecisive on that one, Phil. We'll see. I'll just check if my who in my family actually listens to this show before.
Here you go. That's a great test.
Okay, so Play D&D Pod, our friend Dante, whose podcast you have been on. So
yes,
you can listen to some more of Phil over there if you like. He's getting very philosophical here.
Oh God!
Why do we put value on pieces of paper and metal instead of exchanging goods or using precious metals like we used to?
Because what you value as precious metal, I may not value as a precious metal. Since we do not have the same conception of what something is valued, by putting in a paper dollar amount to it, it becomes known and agreed upon that one item is worth so many pieces of paper. That way, no one feels like they're getting ripped off.
Or everyone feels like they're getting ripped off.
Yeah, everyone's feeling ripped off. No one's feeling ripped off. Those are the two extremes you're getting. Whereas if we go, I'll give you this shiny little quarter or piece of metal for your 3,000, the car that you're driving, one person's not going to feel its value the same.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got my own feelings on the amount of value we give to cars and phones and things like that anyway. But that's a topic for another day. I just
picked a car because a Ferrari just drove by my street, okay? That's the only reason I picked a car.
Did you throw some pieces of paper at it? It's mine now.
Yeah! No, I was too busy talking to you to get my valueless paper to throw at it.
So sorry. What is the best store to shop at? And why? So first he's calling us out for not exchanging goods, but now he's saying, well, you've got your bits of paper. What shop should you go to? So best
for
store.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard. There's two that I really enjoy. One of them's not around anymore because it would have to be a bookstore. I love going into a bookstore and just walking and looking at the cover art and finding a book that can transport you to a different world.
Okay. Interesting that then you decided to do a podcast on movies, but that's fine.
Well, because in my area there is no movie stores anymore. All the stores that used to sell DVDs and movies got closed down. So we had an HMV that sold both the music and movies, and then they got into some comic books and books. That got closed down. Then there was a store dedicated straight to movies, and they had hundreds of movies, thousands probably, but they didn't last long because everybody's going digital. So you got your Netflix, you got your streaming services, they're going with that. So there is no physical places other than going to Best Buy or Future Shop, but there's none close to me to go to. There is a bookstore literally 5 bus stops away from me.
Can you imagine if you'd started your new podcast a few years ago and it would be Better Blockbuster Reviews? That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be amazing. I missed the train on that one. Okay.
If aliens came to your house, what would your reaction be?
I have to remember this is a family-friendly podcast. This is hard. I'd probably be a little confused. I would make sure that my water was not tampered with. And I'd probably say, what's up? But what kind of alien are we talking about? Are we talking xenomorphs, or are we talking the Predator, or are we talking E.T. here? Because each one will have their own different reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose for you, the first question is, can they speak? Can they communicate? Yes. And if so, can I get them on the podcast?
Yeah.
If otherwise, is it a case of run for your life or interview them, basically, isn't it? Those are your two choices at this point.
Will they kill me, or will I be able to have a conversation with them?
Yes. So are you going to become Well, you're going to become famous either way. Is it famous because you broke the story of the first interview with an alien? Or is it famous because you've been written about in the local paper because somebody found your body eaten by an alien? So that's okay, good to know. His final question, I mean, we've touched on it very slightly about where you're living at the moment, but would you rather die from heat or cold?
This is a very morbid question.
And it's his final one, which I really feel like he does this. It's a nice, light, interesting questions, and
questions.
then suddenly at the end is like, death comes for us all.
It's very true. He does do that. Would I rather die because of heat or because of cold? Well, like, is it a dry heat I'm having? Is it a humid heat? Like, I need to know this because, like, if it's a humid heat, I'll be sweating too much. I won't enjoy myself dying. If it's a dry heat, I probably won't notice that I'm dying from the heat.
So
Like, am I in the Sahara Desert or am I in Antarctica? Like, I need more context, Jason.
yeah, I want to go back to the phrase, I'll be too sweaty, I won't enjoy myself dying. So I found that... I think it depends, because if it's like, well, he died from the heat, we dropped him into the sun, that's going to be quite quick. That'll be over quickly. If it's sort of like he was locked in a freezer, that sounds like it's going to take a long time and not be...
That's not going to be fun at all.
Do you know what it is? I just feel that he's been watching too much Gotham, and he's probably seen the Firefly versus Mr. Freeze thing, and he's like, oh, do you want to be hit with the freeze gun or the flamethrower, basically?
So I don't want to be roasted and have that feeling of pain for so long. So I don't want to be hit by the flamethrower. I'm feeling the Dr. Freeze gun, probably it'll drop so quick in temperature that everything will go numb, so I won't feel it.
And there's always the hope that you might be thawed out later.
That's right.
And awake in the future. So that's...
and become the smartest man alive.
And I mean, I should call you out on that you called him Dr. Freeze instead of Mr. Freeze, considering we keep having this back and forth on your knowledge of DC Comics. So
I got called out. Dang it.
But,
well, you are the most professional podcaster there is.
I've been told. And as I've said, that doesn't equate to successful. It's just that I wear a suit.
Without socks.
Oh, no, always with socks. Oh, dear. Speaking of suits without socks, a reference that few will get, but Rory Spence from Doghair Network, he asks this as our final question.
Okay.
Why has the USA refused to embrace Robbie Williams?
Well, seeing as how I'm a Canadian, and we tend to embrace a lot of European stuff, I can only say that the reason why is because they're still bitter about you guys taxing their tea. That's the only reason I can come up with them not embracing Robbie Williams, is because you guys tax their tea and they're still a little upset about it.
And they're taking it out on Robbie Williams. So this is like a running... If I went back through all the questions without context, the number that he has incorporated Robbie Williams into, I don't know what the story is there.
Questions.
I think I'll have to go on his podcast and maybe get him to do a report on Robbie Williams to me.
I think that's only fair,
so that I can finally understand what it is that he loves so much about Robbie Williams, or if this is all just one big joke. In which case, this is a professional podcast. It's not the platform for your jokes, Mr. Spence. I don't appreciate that. Well, they're all the questions that we have today, because, I don't want to say it's because I put this all up very last minute, Phil. That's not the case. I think the real reason is because the questions are made to you, and
yes.
Usually 50% of my questions come from you. So
it is true. I do tend to give you at least a good dozen questions to ask.
Yeah, there was I think it was maybe the Star Wars episode where I just hadn't seen the see more button. So yep. I'm like, oh, Phil's got like 5 questions here. Let's go through these. And then I got to the last one. I was like, oh, hold on, there's a see more. And I hit see more and my phone just exploded. I was like, oh, wow. So it was good. Yeah, I had questions for the next week as well, which was nice. Appreciate that. And if you're listening to this and not sending in your questions, what's up with that? Where are your questions? You know where your questions are? Probably with your form for getting to know who that you haven't filled in as well. I'm calling you all out right now. So.
Come on. I think I've already filled out 2 forms because I have so many funny stories.
I will have to double check. Yeah, I actually now have to go back through and pick out the next couple for future episodes. But it's always difficult because occasionally I'll pick a good one, I'll be like, this will be a good form. And then that person gets in contact like, oh, I'll come on the show. I'm like, no, I've just written the questions about you. You can't come on the show.
How about next week? Are you free next week?
You're asking difficult questions again, Phil. I don't even know if I'm free tomorrow at this point. What week?
All you know is that you're going to finish this podcast, edit it, and then go to bed.
Not editing it. You're joking. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to finish this podcast and go to bed. Because I again have to be up at about 5 tomorrow morning. So that's happening. Phil, I mean, we've subtly hinted at it throughout this episode, but if anybody missed it, where can they find you if they want to hear more from you?
Well, if you want to hear more of my silky smooth tones, you can always check out the Phil Better Show, which is on iTunes, on SoundCloud, probably on Spotify and Google. You can check out my Twitter, my Facebook, and my Instagram at Phil Better Show. Just simply searching, you'll see a beautiful collage of pictures there. And coming in January, you can also catch me at a Better Netflix Review podcast about Netflix originals.
Okay, the audio went a little bit funny at the end there. I don't know why, but it's fine. It's all fine. So, thank you very much for coming on, Phil. If anybody wants to hear any more of my nonsense, now you can go to the website, jasoncroxon.co.uk. You can support me on Patreon. That is now also slightly changed because that is also Patreon and then Jason Croxon. I'm going with my name now. I found out that's the easiest thing to Google me with. You try and Google any one of my shows, you won't find it. Put my name in there, I'm the first thing that pops up. That's it's good to have a unique name.
It is. That's why I go with Phil Better.
Actually, I didn't think my name was that unique. When I used to live in Italy, and people would say, "Oh, Croxon, it's such a strange name. I've never heard it." And I was like, "No, it's a perfectly normal English name. All my family have it, so it's quite." I hear it all the time. And then I've moved back to the UK, and I'm living in a kind of a different part of England. And whenever people meet me, they're like, "Croxon, that's a really unusual name." So, and it's difficult for me to then say, no, it's a perfectly normal English name because, well, they tend to disagree and they're all English. But everybody listening, it's a perfectly normal English name. I don't understand what the problem is. But unique enough that you might find me if you type it in on Google. Or if you visit jasoncroxon.co.uk. Just throw it out there one more time. I've paid for this domain name. You better start using it.
We will. Don't worry. I'm going to go on it every day. Just every day from my computer at work.
Well done. Yeah.
Just go there. And my boss is going to be like, why you're on this page?
But
what does this have to do with your job?
Surely they've not blocked that page. So at least it's something you can go on.
Actually, I don't know. I haven't gone on it. But I will tomorrow. And I'll report back to you on the next, some odd episodes later.
Yeah. Let me know and I will get in touch with your work. How dare you block me? You don't care about independent creators. You don't care about people that are trying to make their way in this world. It's a bank. It's finance. You guys, that's why. You're always stepping on the necks of the little man. You just, And then they'll probably just start speaking French to me and say, what are you talking about?
Just to shut you up, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Phil. What are you doing now? Are you going to bed? Oh, no, you're going to go and record another podcast, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to go record another podcast. That's what I do. I double book myself with podcasts.
Well, it's good that you got this one out of the way with first. So we got fresh Phil, and they can have whatever's left.
Yeah, I'll just, they can have the dregs of the coffee cup.
Exactly.
I save the best for the most professional podcaster.
Well, thank you very much. If I ever see him, I'll let him know that you told me that. All right. Well, thank you, everyone who's stuck around this long. I don't know why you did, but we appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you all again next week. I'm going to say next week. I haven't yet made the decision to cut this one down to every other week. But if you don't see anything next week, well, maybe you'll know why. No, it should be a new episode next week. Let's stay positive, everybody. So thank you all for listening, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.